I'm sorry, Andrew Weissman, but if I recall correctly, in 2018, you were one of the people who helped write the Mueller report, and you all botched the hell out of that.
And never in my wildest dreams would I have thought we would be here. I thought we were better as a country.
Oh, yeah.
Like all these sites that have been around for creating videos and all that, like text stock videos, they're done.
But that's why Canva was one of the first to get into doing AI.
What is up, everybody? Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2018. Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that team, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers since the year 2020. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on November 16th, 2024. Yes, we're in the second half of November, and you know what? End of year is coming. End of year is coming. Like, that's what I was just thinking. I'm already thinking 2025, just at the beginning of this month. Now it's really coming in. But if you don't know where you've come to, or if you do know where you've come to, you're coming to Primetime Saturday with Aisha LaLa. We weren't here last week for, I think, good reasons. But this week we have them back. I couldn't let them get away from me for another week. Aisha Staggers and Laura LaLa Key are back in the house. What is going on, ladies?
Trying to balance.
Okay. You know what? I was saying this to my mother yesterday. It's only been a little over a week since the election. This man has not even started his term yet. Okay.
And the last. Hold on. Before we're going to talk about postmortems. So
no, we're going to do that. This isn't a postmortem. Okay, I'm just telling you how I'm feeling.
All right.
The last 3 days have felt like a year already.
Okay.
And I'm just remembering that kind of chaos. And just this week has felt very chaotic.
Okay. Lala, how you doing?
I'm reeling because I don't even have the real words to say it. You've heard me say it in the intro. I thought we had come a little bit further than this. I was really hoping that love would win. And I honestly and truly feel like we're nowhere near that. And I also really do feel like there was some shenanigans going on about this, but guess what? Doesn't matter if it is or if it isn't. We're stuck with what we've got now. Okay. So now we're going to have to deal with that. I have been extremely emotional about this. And there are days that I still cry. The more and more he comes out with new things, the more and more I sink. But I just keep picking myself up and I start thinking, what is it that I can do to make my world and the people who I love safe and ready for this journey?
Okay, we'll get right into it. Let's get the other things out of the way first. Always subscribe to Girlfriends Chat with Aisha LaLa and Jill Jones at Patreon. And
we had a real one this week.
Oh, I can imagine.
We had a real one this week. And I'm debating whether or not to edit. I've been sitting with
if Jill was there, I know that was fire among mass. Okay.
I think I'm going to put it out unedited. I think everyone needs to hear the real raw emotion that we felt. Wow. So I'm going to post it tomorrow unedited.
Okay. Then Primetime Saturday Show Store, there is the link there. And we have join the Discord group. Email me dr.vib at the drvibeshow.com. Also, if you want to subscribe to my platform on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the notification button or tell people about it. I think we're getting near to 1,590 subscribers. So I'd love you to push it over and tell other people about it. Also follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And also to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I shine my head on, please email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. All right. And we have a few people that are already in the house. Number one fan, Jen Myers, says, hello, everyone. Fitness IQ Cat says, hey, I have my popcorn. She goes, I was waiting for y'all, ladies. And Fitness IQ goes, hugs. Shirley Josma says, hello, everyone. Can't wait to hear from you guys debriefing. And Fitness IQ Cat says, yes, please. I'll be checking it out. All right, let's get right to it, because if I didn't put it up, you'd already be into it. You weren't here last week, so you already started talking about it. Presidential election postmortem. Who wants to start?
I will. We're going to say what mainstream media is not saying, what the pundits aren't saying. It all boils down, and I said this in my Blue Sky, which is another thing we're going to talk about later, but it wasn't the cost of eggs. It wasn't the economy. It wasn't that Democrats weren't talking to men. It was the racism. And if you say it's anything else, you're being less than disingenuous. This country has not gotten over the racism. And let me tell you something. The reason that so many people came in full force is they were not going to let another Black person hold that office. Let's be very, very clear. We have been paying for their racism and their anger about Barack Obama since 2008. I am tired of it. I know every Black person in this country is tired of it. But the bottom line is this. These are people who grew up hearing, like all of us have, that there will never be a Black president in my lifetime, in your lifetime. And then it happened. The one thing in this country that was guaranteed to only belong to white people, specifically white men, was the presidency of the United States. And when that happened, that a Black president, it could belong to Black people too. They were going to make sure we never forgot it, that it never happened again. Why and how do we know this? Because in the postmortem of this, we learned how Russian interference, Elon Musk's interference on Twitter, the bots and all of that doubled down on the racism. They doubled down on every hate thing. The majority of those conversations about, is she Black enough, and stirring that stuff up, didn't start with Black people. It started with the bots and Russian interference. We've been
And once the election was over, everyone noticed. Like, it was so noticeable how many people dropped followers. People didn't have, like, followers were gone. They were all
hundreds.
Bots.
Yeah. And the part of it that is so angering is that media. People, you want to eradicate racism in this country? Start talking about it. Start being real and honest about it, because you can't fix a problem when you don't acknowledge it. You know, back in the 50s and 60s and prior to that, in the 20th century, they referred to it as the Negro problem. Guess what? The Negroes didn't have the problem. Racism is a white people's problem. Because if it wasn't, you wouldn't have had the 70+% number you have of white men voting for the racist, the misogynist. You wouldn't have had 53 to 57% of white women voting for the racist and the misogynist. You would have seen that last rally that he had at Madison Square Garden. That should have been totally disqualifying. That was a white power hour, not a political rally. That was akin to what they used to hold. They used to hold these white power hours on TV in the South. That was what that was.
Exactly.
You know how you know it was so bad? Because no mainstream news outlet ran any of it live. They ran Kamala Harris's that same night or the night after, but they did not run his. And everyone who refuses to acknowledge that should be ashamed of themselves. You're part of the problem.
You know, I don't, if anybody watched our watch party, you will notice that we were like, I kept telling you, and I kept saying it over and over. They're calling this too early. This isn't right. This is, you don't call this, not even 10-15% of the votes are in, and you're calling a state, something isn't right. And of course now people will be like, you're just a conspiracy theorist, you're just sour. No, when it happens to us, it's okay. But when it happens to you, you cry foul. This voting system needs to be torn down all the way. And the problem is that we get so upset after a major election like this, and everybody's up in arms, up in arms. Oh my God, we got to change it. And then people go to sleep and their anger goes back to everyday living. And then it never happens again to talk about it unless something like this happens. But the truth of this matter, the election way that we are doing it is broken. It's been broken for many, many years, and it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, you know what? I was thinking about this. I think for state and local elections, having a 2-week period to vote is fine. But when you need to, this is like someone said this on social media, that voting is the worst group project ever. And if we're going to do this group project, I think we should have a longer period of time to vote than just a 2-week period in places where there's early voting, and a 1-day period where there is, because we're talking about over 200 million people who are eligible to vote in this country. You mean you're expecting to get all those people to the polls in 2 weeks in some places, a day in the rest? That makes no sense whatsoever. Honestly, I think that people should have a month to vote. We should make it as easy as possible. You should be able to mail in your vote. You should be able to put it this way, if I can access my bank account from my cell phone using my fingerprint, and that's how I am able to validate who I am, I do not understand why we can't vote that way.
I don't think it's ever going to change in our lifetime, Aisha. In our lifetime, it's not going to be fixed. Yeah. And we are still in very much danger of us not being able to vote again for a very long time if it ever gets turned, because we know that Trump has said that he's said it many times. He's never, ever told you something that he didn't stand behind. Right. He has said you will not have to do this again. That's not told people. That's telling you directly what he is planning to do. Yeah. I mean, you should be upset about this.
Case in point, tonight, it was just reported that he's making a list, and he's going to go after anyone involved in the withdrawal from Afghanistan to see if they can be court-martialed. And people on the news are shocked. Didn't that man say that was what he was going to do? I don't understand how at this point we don't believe. Look, there are things that he does say he's going to do that he didn't do, like build the wall. And Mexico will pay for it. But the majority of things that he said he was going to do, he does, because he is like a child. He has no filter. He has no mechanism of self-control, and he thinks he's always right. This man has his ass on his shoulders.
In his brain, he knows. That's the problem. He'll never, ever admit any kind of wrongdoing, even if he misplaces something in his own life. It's somebody else's fault. That's
the whole training and lessons and stuff that he got from Roy Cohn. One of the first things that Roy Cohn told him was never admit to being wrong.
Yes.
Spin it. And that is what he does. He spins the most dead wrong things. So if anything that we learn from this election, the one thing that we should learn, and I've been hearing the Democrats say it today, do not, absolutely do not capitulate to bro culture. Yeah, that's them. That is the most intolerant bunch of people I've ever seen. Here, you want to know a mistake that was made? The mistake was made by people like James Carville and these other Clinton era Democrats, and those people talking about, oh, you need to focus on the so-called swing states. Well, you know what happened with that? It was the people in these other states that were not swing states that believed that their vote did not count, just didn't show up.
But all that leads us to here. We are now in a different era. We are now in a form where we need to protect ourselves and our communities. And just the sheer rhetoric that you are seeing them. You would think that they would be happy that they won, but I have not heard anybody have any kind of happiness. This is the most hateful bunch of people I have ever seen in my life. They'll never be happy. And then they're going to end up eating their own selves.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do.
I mean, we are about to enter into a dystopia where, I started writing this fiction book about this dystopian land, about this guy called the Beast who won an election. And one of the first things that he destroyed were books. But then after that, he started coming after the arts, and he's coming after music and musicians specifically. And this is how I feel, it's sad, but I feel this is where we are in this country. They've already come after books. They're coming after the things in life that make people happy. They don't. Remember in Annie, Miss Hannigan says, "Is that happiness I hear?" It's like, that's what it feels like. Because remember, during the campaign, they literally tried to make joy unpopular. So if anything we learned from this election is that it doesn't help to have a party that has pretty much just surrendered completely to a madman. But it also doesn't have another party that is trying to pull voters from the cult of that madman over thinking that you have a big tent party, speak to your tent. People will come if you keep speaking the message, but if you ignore your people, that's one of the reasons that a lot of people just, didn't show up or didn't feel it or voted just down ballot and not at the top. People want to be seen. Our base is our base, and our base is fine. Talk to our base, but don't try to talk over them, leapfrog over them to pull people on the fringe ends of MAGA, because the bottom line, the ultimate lesson to learn, they're still MAGA. And think about how many white women were up here in our faces saying, "Oh yeah, our rights, our bodies, our rights, and this and that." And then when they went in the voting booth, voted in their husband's best interest, not their own.
Okay, I want to just take a break and get up to some comments. Hey, Michelle Hayward says, "Good evening." She also says, "Red pill post disappeared."
Yes.
Michelle says the disagreements about Black men and women relations decreased drastically too. She says, quote, "Racism is a white people problem," quoting Aisha. She says, "What was that, LaLa? Bish? New word." And Michelle also says that made sure a Black woman lose. They made sure a Black woman lose. Everything else is blank for them. So let me ask, what were your thoughts about the demographics that voted? Do you have thoughts for each one of these demographics? White men, white women, and Hispanic men.
Okay, well, I'm not surprised, but I'll say this. One of the things that we have to shift, and we have to stop with the narrative. Just like they're like, "Oh, 43% of Hispanic men voted for Kamala Harris." If you do math, 100%, if you subtract 43%, that means 57%, right, is left. But or maybe it was 57%. I think 43% voted for her. But at any rate, Joy Reid did this great post where she said the number of Hispanic men that voted for Trump is the same as the number of Hispanic women that voted for Harris. And so their numbers ended up canceling each other out.
Yeah.
I think the number, Black men overwhelmingly voted for Harris, 80+%. Why are we surprised that white men? See, here's the thing. In discussing this election, these post-election discussions, particularly on the media, everybody talks about how Black people voted, how women voted, how Hispanics voted, how Arab Americans voted, how, whatever. The one demographic, they never talk about how they voted as being problematic or anything, is white men. Not one person has analyzed how white men have voted except to say that Democrats need to work harder to get them. How come the discussion that we're not having is why are white men voting for the racist, for the rapist? Why? And then when you start making those kinds of conversations happen, we can then after that talk about how come so many mass shooters are white men.
Ryan Singh adds, these women speak from a place of privilege. There's still a lot of suppression of women across America.
Which women?
Yeah.
Which women speak from a place of privilege? Please narrow that down, please.
LaLa, anything you want to add?
No, I'm still trying to keep my sanity, and I've had to work pretty hard on keeping myself in a happy place. So let me explain why this is a double dose for me. This, not only did we deal with the election of the president, I also have some serious corruption going down in Mississippi. The FBI has have come out and indicted the mayor of Hinds County, the district attorney of Hinds County. 2 council members were also indicted for bribery. So at some point, you have to come to a reckoning with you thinking that you can go to your government to get the help when you see the corruption. But when the corruption is the government, you lose all hope. So not only did I have that whammy of presidency and all the down ballot that way, I now have to also fight with Mississippi, who is also a starchly Trump supportive state. And Hinds County is one of the worst corrupt in the area, which is a Democratic area. So if I want to get justice for my sisters, I have to work with these people who want to only blame the other party. So I have to play the political game, because the last person I spoke to literally said to me, "You do know that's a Democratic party, and that's really corrupt. Oh, you poor thing, you'll never get justice." This is someone who was on the other side in the GOP telling me that I'm not going to get justice just because it's a Democratic area. So I'm trying to get you to make the connection to big picture to coming down to a smaller picture where we're supposed to be able to go to these people for justice. So I'm hoping that you guys understand why I'm more than devastated about this whole thing, is because I don't know what to do with this fight other than to continue to pick up my sword and keep fighting.
Right.
What are your... Go ahead, Aisha.
And Lala, what you're seeing, it's like you're getting this double winning because you're telling you that the Democratic Party is corrupt, but you're then expected to try and get justice for 2 Black women in Mississippi from Republicans.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
dealing with a state that also, don't forget, Brett Favre got all of that money from that state, from actually the governor of that state, and they're covering that up as well. Who immediately, even before things were called that night, I was watching Mississippi very close. Yeah. Immediately before anything was called, already was congratulating Trump.
Yeah. And honestly, you got to remember about Mississippi. Emmett Till was murdered there in 1955. They have still been having to replace the memorial to him in modern times. Most recently, they had to make it bulletproof because every anniversary, people would go and shoot at the memorial. Okay, so that should tell you how many years ago that was, and that even now people don't even know the history of it, haven't even heard his name, but just go and shoot at that memorial. So I don't, it's very hard to expect that you can get the government to do things for you. But Mississippi had that happen to them. But the one thing that I think was slightly promising is that the down ballot races in other places where there were Democratic strongholds, and I'm not talking for federal office holders like your U.S. House of Representatives or U.S. Senate. I'm talking about state senates, state houses of representatives, city council, school boards. They were able to have more success. And that is something that I think the national parties need to really start paying attention to and investing in, because here's the other problem too, is that they take all this money that they raise, because every time you turn around they're asking for money, but they take all this money and they invest it primarily in these U.S. House races, U.S. Senate races, and maybe a governor's race in a state that they might want to flip or is a swing state. But they don't invest in these lower things, because think about it. If they were to invest in these down ballot races where people can actually come in contact with their council member or their school board member or people, their local superintendent, they come in contact with those people, their mayor, they come in contact with those people. If more money was invested in those races, I think you would see the voter turnout increase, and I think you'd see Democrats do better, because they did better in down ballot races than they did on the national ones.
What do you think about, I was looking at an article that's saying it compared in different states the number of Democratic registered voters who did not vote. What are your thoughts on that?
That's what I mean. I think the thing is that in those places where there were a lot of Democratic voters that did not vote, part of the problem was that the candidate, and granted, she only had 107 days, but Biden had been on the campaign trail prior to that. The candidate did not come to them. You have to go to them. They had more offices in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, and one other state combined than they had in some of these other places. Knocking on doors and asking people for their vote still works. There was $1 billion. You know what they really need to invest, give money to some of these local organizations who drive people to the polls, whether they're blue or red, but drive people to the polls. A lot of times for people in these rural communities, particularly in the South, transportation. They don't have transportation because what have they done? They've removed the polling places, and they've condensed the number of polling places, and then they've moved them so far from communities that people don't have the time to take off a whole day to take a bus ride to another bus ride to another bus ride, spend 3 hours on a bus getting there, spend 6 hours in line, and 3 hours to get back, and have missed a whole day of pay. People in rural communities, people who are poor, cannot afford to do that. So the Democratic strategy, here's the thing. If the Democratic strategy spent more time investing in poor people and getting poor people to the polls instead of focusing on the upper middle class and just the middle class, she would have won. Because guess what? We know the upper class are okay. You talk to the middle class and think about who oftentimes see themselves as middle class people. Okay? Most of the time, most of the people who see themselves as middle class are white and oftentimes deluding themselves. Because I'm sorry, somebody making $30,000 a year and somebody making $25,000 a year, husband and wife, $50,000 a year in this country with a family of four is not middle class. Not. But if they spent more time talking to people who are lower middle class, who are poor people, who are working class people, and spoke in those languages, I'm sorry, but if I'm a poor person and all I hear is people saying, we've got to do this, We've got to make sure the wealthy pay their fair share, and we're working for the middle class. If I'm a working class person, I'm a poor person, I did not hear anyone speak to me.
No. That's all I can say about that is no.
All right, go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, LaLa.
No, I was just going to say that we cannot forget there were also a lot of, ballot boxes that burned. There were a lot of people who, after the election came on and went to go make sure that their vote counted, and there were a lot of people saying that their ballot was missing or they saw that it didn't count. There's so many things that go into all of this stuff, but I still stand beside what I said earlier. This system is broken, and until we decide to tackle it and take it on, then there's nothing going to change. Because I actually said the same thing about Gore. Like, with all those hanging chads in Florida, I was like, Gore won that. Legitimately, he won the presidency. But we as Democrats never seem to stand up and fight. It's like, okay, roll over, show the belly. And I'm actually pretty tired of that too. I think I've told you guys I'm an independent, and there's a reason why I am, because I really am feeling like there's not very many people who are doing the real fight that needs to be there. There are a handful there, especially Jasmine. I love her to death.
I love her too.
Cory Booker, he is doing, Hakeem is doing, but where are our other strong Democrats? Where was Pelosi? Where the frick was, I almost said a real bad word, but where was she? Where was she? She didn't come out.
I haven't met Kamala very much. For someone who cares so much about the democracy, she really let her dislike for Kamala get in the way here. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm feeling like I want to be independent at this point, or at least Working Families Party. In Connecticut, you have to be registered with a party to vote in the primary. So for now, I stay where I am because I want to be able to have my say in who gets to be on the ticket.
All right, some more comments here. Michelle says they closed post offices and reduced post offices drop boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle says, to get the poor to vote, I agree it takes more resources, but we would have had to start today to make sure they are registered to vote. It comes back to a thing. Fitness IQ Camp says, I don't know about what your thoughts about this Saturday, to have Biden step down and let Kamala president run for a moment. Thoughts? Do you think she had too little time to achieve?
No. And I've heard this. And one of the reasons I heard it was funny because the person was like, imagine if he did that, because Trump has his people. They're already advertising Trump 47 merchandise and stuff like that, right? For the inauguration and people buying them now. But they're like, if Joe Biden actually did that, she would be the 47th president and Trump would have to go back and all those people would have to go back and rebuy all this stuff.
I would love it.
But yes, he actually could do that instead of president here. He said he wanted to be a transitional president. Well, that would be transitional, making the first woman president, but he's not going to do it. And the reason he's not going to do it is because he is too much of a traditionalist. And I think one of the I love Joe Biden. I'm so mad about what was done to him. But one of the things that I think he failed to see all 4 years is that he saw the danger in Donald Trump, but he saw the danger of a Donald Trump who is the same age as he is. Okay. He didn't see how deep all of this stuff really ran. It wasn't the same. There were not Republicans that he could work with. For some reason, he still had it in his mind that there were still some Republicans left, the kind that he worked with in the Senate. Remember, he's been in the government for more than 50 years. Okay.
This is a totally different game.
He can't get it out of his head that there are none of those people left. And the few that were left have capitulated and fallen down flat on their backs for Donald Trump. Yesterday, one member of Congress said, if Donald Trump tells us to jump, we ask him how high, and we jump.
And that's a direct quote she just said.
That's directly what he said. And that is indicative of the poison in this party. That's indicative of where they are right now. There are no people to work with. The thing that we can be thankful for is that the margin in the House of Representatives, now that the final tallies are coming out, is slimmer than what they have now. I think now they had a 5-seat majority, and now they'll have like maybe a 2 or 3 seat majority, which keep in mind, they're still counting votes for the House of Representatives. So I don't understand why we're okay letting them continue at that count, but we couldn't sit and wait for the presidency too. Because remember, those ballots also have the president on them. We're also finding that the margin between Trump and Kamala is smaller than what they reported on election night. Right? But it's too late, because guess what?
Right.
The MAGA crackheads are already running with that. Oh my gosh, she lost by what, 3 to 5 million votes, and the margin's so small right now. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm with you, LaLa, because remember that night of our election watch, I was sitting here doing the math across all the sites. And I'm going to tell you, because I was trying to come up with that 178 number that they had reported that particular point. The only way I could come up with it was by adding Colorado and another state that she eventually won, that they counted for him until Arizona and Nevada were reported.
Right. And they were coming in too fast. Dr. Vibe, we weren't even finished with introductions.
Well,
like I said, why they call Connecticut at 3%. And I knew Connecticut was going to go for Kamala, but how'd you know if you only count? Okay, there are 4 million people in this state. Okay, 3%. 3% means that they counted what, 40,000 votes?
okay. Well, I want to say good evening to Dr. Tachi.
Hi, Dr. Tachi.
The driving force behind Indie Soup Media, independent content creators platform with over 40 independent content creators, and has over 20,000 YouTube subscribers. So my question is, some people, the few people are saying this election was stolen. Do you feel it was stolen in any way?
You know what?
Yes.
Let me tell you this. I think it was, and not in the ways that people think, oh, did they change votes? No. Here's how it was stolen. It was stolen because of misinformation and disinformation. That should not be allowed to stand. Okay, people were literally manipulated into believing things that just weren't true. The second thing, Elon Musk and who's the other guy that JD Vance worked for?
Oh, I know the guy, Peter Thiel.
Thiel.
Yeah.
Okay, Thiel. Trump had 3 of the wealthiest people contributing to his campaign. 2 of them are not from this country. Foreign money should not be able to enter into this campaign. Corporate money, because they both have corporations. Corporate money should not be allowed to sway an election. And I am sorry, but especially promises should not be able to be made to people with a lot of money. I promise you a place in my administration if you put $125 million into my campaign. He bought a president.
And one who already talked about him and said that if that Musk would actually lick his boots if he asked him to.
Yeah.
So what did we see? Musk is going to get everything that he wants because he put the money into this campaign.
But that isn't that America?
Well, you know what? They need to be careful right now, because guess what? I just mentioned him, but guess what other billionaire is not being mentioned and not in the pictures, not in the photos? You know, I'm going to quote Suge Knight, not up in the videos and on stage. Okay, it's Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is part of that Project 2025 and put a lot of money behind it. JD Vance worked for him. JD Vance wrote the forward. You have not seen JD Vance. You would swear it was Trump Monk, a Trump Monk administration, not a Trump Vance. Because I'm sorry, Trump Musk. Because you have not seen JD Vance with Trump since he won. Okay? Wait.
I have my theories about that.
Look, the night of the president. Look, the night of the election, JD Vance wasn't there taking pictures with Trump and his family. It was Elon Musk. Now, here's the thing. Peter Thiel's sitting there. He don't like Elon Musk. He's sitting there upset. JD Vance upset because he's not getting his respect as vice president elect. Peter Thiel's in JD Vance's ear. Look at him. And then he's making all these crazy nominations. You better do something about it. That 25th Amendment, I promise you, is looking really, really good to JD Vance and Peter Thiel right now. And I promise you, do not be surprised. Do not be surprised.
So if people don't know the name Peter Thiel, himself and Elon Musk were part of the co-founders of eBay. So they go back a while. But this is American politics. Money, cash, money around me.
But it hasn't always been that way.
I need to make clear that America isn't any different than any other country. There are many other countries that are doing the exact same thing. Yeah. You have a lot of this going on in the world. Only like 1% of all of the power of the people are from people with money, and people who are born into certain families. We do know this. This is nothing new, and it's not the only country that has this problem.
And here's the thing: we've always had money in our politics. We didn't have big money until the 2008 election when they passed the law allowing for super PACs.
I just want to ask, I think big money's always been there, just that it's not so much in the open.
No, we literally had a law passed during the Obama election that allowed for, because we didn't have super PACs before. Super PACs and PACs run differently. Super PACs can now have the money donated, but it doesn't have to be reported. You don't have to report who it came from or how much. And that is the problem. That is the problem. The big money's always been there. We've always known it was there because we could see it. With this, it allows for dark money to come in, and you can't get through it. And the one reason that they passed it is because they saw Obama getting so popular.
What's the future of Kamala Harris?
Kamala Harris is going to go home to California with her husband and chill. Like she was like the day after the election or 2 days after, sitting on the floor with her grandnieces playing Connect 4.
All right. What is the future of the Democratic Party?
They better get it together, because a lot of us have lost faith in them.
They better start thinking about who their nominee is for 2028. They better start, highlighting folks. They got to start highlighting who's going to be the standard bearers of the party. Here's the thing. One thing that they should learn, all the dinosaurs of the party, as Jill Jones called them before, all the dinosaurs of the party need to realize that people don't want you to always go high. Sometimes you got to get in the ring. Sometimes you got to get in the ring and fight. We can't be like Mike Tyson was last night. That was geriatric abuse.
Well, that's a whole other conversation.
I know, but we can't be that way and let them beat up on us.
There you go. And what does this say about America?
The more things change, the more things stay the same.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Nothing has really changed. It's an illusion that things have changed. Racism, as I have said to you, is a terminal illness in America. And this is always going to come back to that. I don't care what we're talking about. We could talk about healthcare. We could talk about women's rights. We could talk about anything else that they were arguing and tossing about. But the real reason that we have these outcomes is sheer racism.
Yeah. And I suggest, I spoke in depth on this in a piece I wrote on Medium talking about America's addiction to racism is why this election turned out the way it is. Can't break the addiction. People are getting high off of this. And the sad part is that this is how you know it's an addiction, because when people who weren't even born here, people who are born in countries where there aren't white people, or the number of white people is so small, but their people are the majority. Everyone looks like them. Everyone speaks like them. On TV, they constantly see representations of themselves. They come to this country, they see what white people have and the power they have, and they want a little bit of it. And they'll get a little taste of it being from another country. And then the moment that the tide turns and they become a pariah, they constantly struggle and strive to get that little taste of what white supremacy offered. And then they become so addicted to it that the people at the bottom of the rung become the target of their ire. That's how anti-Blackness thrives in other from other races of people who are people of color. We here know that, wait, they don't see you as white. We know that, but they still see themselves as better than Black.
So what does this mean for the state of, okay, you know what? I'll hold off. I got some comments here. Fitness IQ goes, geez. And then Dr. Tachi says, they go low, we throw rocks.
I hope we should be throwing rocks.
And Fitness IQ says, not like Tyson. She's crying. And it says, Dr. Tachi says, the reality is, in order for some of these people to be in power, they have to oppress because they don't have the talent or the intelligence to earn power.
Exactly. And when we talk about the cabinet picks, that's exactly what we're talking about. We are seeing.
Hold off.
I know, but to Dr. Chachi's points, we are seeing a failure of talent and intelligence in our politics. And I think that's where the future is, until people decide that they've had enough of content creators and influencers trying to enter into politics. What do you think Marjorie Taylor Greene was before?
Oh boy, you haven't brought her up for so long. You miss her.
Awfully quiet lately.
Yeah, I haven't heard you. What's wrong? She isn't going to get a cabinet post. But
he don't want ugly women in his cabinet.
Oh, gee,
we know that. But we know that's who he is. She's too ugly. So is Tim Scott. That's why Tim Scott hasn't gotten a position.
Fitness IQ goes, golly. So then what? So what is the future of race relations in America for the next few years?
There isn't. It's
going to stay as it is.
No, ma'am. That's where I digress a little bit. No, it's going to get worse. It already has. See, I said this to a friend this week, and I really had thought about it, because I really went into a cocoon after this. I stayed off social media. I talked to God. I laid out and lamented. I did everything that really bothers me, is that my age, I'm 54. I will be 55 next February.
By the way, both ladies look great for whatever age you are. I just wanted to interrupt. Go ahead.
Thank you. But we came at a time where our parents and our grandparents fought in the civil rights movement. For a while there, after all that happened, we knew that there were struggles. However, we were in a period of lull, a period of sleep, like, hey, this is a little better than what it was before. Yes, we're still fighting certain things, but guess what? It can only get better. And now we are our generation didn't have to do any of the marching on that level. So now here we are, that was snatched completely away, falsehood. And now we have to pick up the banner. But where do we pick up the banner? We don't know, because we didn't have the same grassroots as the generations before us. So this is a period of time where we have to self-reflect upon what banner we have to pick up and unite and go forward. But can we? because there's so many of us that want to argue against each other about she can't come to the barbecue, she can't come to the barbecue, she this and she that. You're so worried about who is being better than you, or you feel or in your mind think is better than you, that you can't find the unity. So this is where I have the struggle right now, is because yes, we all want unity. If you ask me, we should be picking back up the Black Panther Party and moving on with that and the same principles. But do we have the mindset of enough people to do so? Yes, we can always do our own thing in our community, but at some point we are going to have to come together nationally to make the difference.
Yeah, and I think we need to have, there's this idea of we need to have a national conversation. I agree, we should have a national conversation, but the people who decide to organize and are always rushing to the front, they need to take a step back. You know who we need to take? We need to take the people who are at the bottom, the people whose voices are never heard, and let them speak. And then after they speak, listen to them and act on what it is that they say. I don't need another person who has been in some kind of position in an organization and it, gets screen time on TV. Guess what? The majority of people, unless they're like us who sit and engage in these things, they don't know who that. But they know somebody. If you take somebody who, works, who is a garbage man, but he gets involved, he goes to every PTA meeting for his kids. If you get him on a platform and let him speak, other people are going to see him because they know people like him. They might be like him, but they know what it is to work that kind of job, but still be involved in your child's PTA meeting because you know how important that is. Those people need to be amplified. I don't need another person in a business suit who is an attorney and then had been a politician for a little bit of time, maybe, did some other things. And I don't need legacy folks. What we need are people who never get heard. You want to talk about lifting people up? Let's start lifting some of those people up who are at the bottom instead of lifting people up who are already seen all the time. That's the other thing that people are getting sick of too. And younger people are getting sick of it. Younger people are getting
they're the talking heads now, and those talking heads don't speak for everyone.
You think your average 18-year-old knows who the Reverend Al Sharpton is and what he did?
Yeah, they see him as a joke.
They'd be like, who's this old man? And look, and let you show them the fat Reverend Al before he lost all the weight, and they'll be like, that's not the same person.
So then is there a need? Okay, before I ask for more conversations before we go to break, Dr. Chad says they can have a conversation without me. I've already done my work.
Well, I agree. That's the other article I wrote about Black women are saying get somebody else to do it.
That's where I am.
And that's how I feel. And I believe in that. But I do believe that a conversation needs to be held. We don't need to have it. We don't need to organize it. But that is what the conversation needs to be.
Okay, I think we're going to cover this in a section a bit later, but I'm going to stop at this right now. So we're going to take a quick little break because we should take a break because it's pretty intense. And I want to give these ladies some grace and make sure they manage their time and their energy, especially Miss LaLa over the last week or so. So we are going to just take a little bit of a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the nominees for 47's new administration. Some very interesting picks where he is wanting, and also him wanting to bypass going through Congress. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, everyone. I was just on the Dr. Vibe show a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to talk about how wonderful the experience was. I was there to talk about a Buy Blacks article, but what I really appreciated about being on the Dr. Vibe morning show was that very quickly as my story started to unfold, Dr. Vibe was able to pivot, ask really interesting questions to give the context to the audience and listener about why the article was personal to me, who I am as an author and writer, and give all of that additional context so that the audience understands the perspective that I'm speaking from, which I think is very, very important in journalism. It was a warm experience and invitation. I had a wonderful time being on, and I would recommend anyone else interested in participating on the Dr. Vibe Morning Show do so, because it's a wonderful time.
Thank you very much for the kind words, Hilly LeBlanc of Black New Brunswick and Hilly LeBlanc Media. We are back with Primetime Saturday with Aisha LaLa, broadcasting, yes, November 16th. We're getting down there. So just another comment from a regular from the Morning Vibe Show who's here this evening. Shirley says, I think the lack of education in our community led us down this path. I mean, educate ourselves about where we are from and picking up the baton. All right. Yeah. So let's continue on. 45 has some really interesting nominees, some of his interesting nominees for his administration. Ladies, any comments? I know you have a comment, at least one of them.
1, 2. He's got 2 people up there that have been accused of sexual assault.
Thank you.
2. But then again, look at him. Yeah, exactly. But of course, the rapist is going to nominate 2 other rapists, one in particular as Attorney General, so that he can try and get him to not have to pay what he owes for said rape.
Yeah, which is probably going to backfire on him, because there are talks about how that may not even work at all. So there's you already have dark conflict of what's going on now. Will they allow that appointment to happen? I do not know, because this Project 2025 thing, which is going to be a part of our conversation, so I'm not going to touch that yet. But a part of what is happening with that will dismantle a whole lot of things that will also set up these appointments to be able to skate by. Right. But I'm thinking I'm thinking the reason that they will is because this is also the same Senate that when they knew he was wrong, they were upset on January 6th, did not vote to convict him. Okay. And not only that, but Donald Trump beyond that is talking about going by the process where he can just have them in there as acting for up to 2 years, where he can bypass their vote. It's unnerving. Okay, so if you're watching live on replay, you'll be able to see it. If you're listening to the replay, you won't be able to see this. But I'm just going to run down the full list of 45 who's now 40 and 47 picks so far. So I'm going to read through the list, and then, ladies, if you have any concerns, we'll voice it after. So White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Attorney General, Matt Gaetz. Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche. HHS Secretary, Robert Kennedy. UN Ambassador, Elise Stefanik. Border Czar, Tom Horman. Defense Secretary, Pete Hegesth. If I got his name wrong, my fault. Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Doug Collins. National Security Advisor, Michael Waltz. Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum. White House Counsel, William McGinley. Solicitor General, Dean John Sauer. Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. CIA Director, John Ratcliffe. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. EPA Administrator, Lee Zeldin. U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Lee Zeldin. Mike Huckabee. I got that wrong. U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. U.S. Attorney for Southern District of New York. Interesting. Jay Clayton. I have a feeling that's going to come up interesting the next few weeks. Deputy Chief of Staff, Dan Scavino. Deputy Chief of Staff for
you forgot Department of Government Efficiency.
Can't forget that one. Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk and Vivek Waswamy. Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Homeland Security Advisor, Stephen Miller is back. Deputy Chief of Staff for Communications and Personnel, Taylor Budowich, presidential personnel office head Sergio Gore, White House Communication Director Stephen Chung, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, and Secretary of Energy Chris Wright. So
throw the whole bunch away.
What?
Just throw the whole bunch away. Throw the whole government away.
Why are you saying that?
These people don't even have credentials.
Pardon my language, but not one of them. Throw them all away. Just
these are all kids who has done his bidding and kissed his boots, and now he's rewarding them, and none of them really have the credentials to be stepping into these positions in the first place. They have no credentials to step into these positions. Our government is a mockery now. And the things that y'all really wanted, okay, you're going to get them. The thing is, you're dragging us all down with you, because it's finally going to hit the fan when it starts hitting your household. You're the one who put them there.
You know, our government needs continuity, and we don't have time for 200, because guess what? There's about 200 plus cabinet members that he needs to appoint. We don't have time for 200 people to learn on the job. We don't.
Or the luxury. We don't have the luxury of this.
No, Matt Gaetz has never been a prosecutor. He's going to be prosecuting people. He was an attorney for 5 years, never did any major cases, had several DUIs, and then became a member of Congress.
Okay, let me get
traffic the 17-year-old. And you know what? I'm so that Mike Johnson decides, oh yeah, we're not going to release that report on the investigation, because we have to let everyone know how this Gaetz, the timeline of this Gaetz appointment, because it is critically important. The report on this man and his sex trafficking was supposed to come out yesterday. What does Matt Gaetz do? He drops out of Congress. He quits. He resigns on Wednesday. And on Thursday, Trump throws his name as the nominee. One of the reasons he resigned was because he didn't want that report to come. If he's not a member of Congress, they won't. The courtesy is not to release the report, but they're not obligated to not release it. So he's going to be in charge of the body of government that has all the evidence of his sex trafficking case. Okay? We're never going
to let that sink in, because that's deeper than you really think that it is.
We're never going to hear that. It's also the government, also the agency that has all the evidence against all the January 6th people, all the evidence against Donald Trump and the documents, the stuff in Georgia, and the stuff in DC with January 6th, the U.S. and don't forget the U.S. The SDNY, that federal court that he appointed somebody else.
That's why I said that.
Lose it, so they could end that case right there. But guess what? All that information, that person's ultimate boss is Matt Gaetz. So all that evidence, it will get lost.
Yep.
Everything.
It's but you got to hand it to 45. Some people said the main reason why he got elected so he can't be charged with anything. And this is what you just said. That this is a perfect setup. He's never going to go to jail, family.
Well, we knew this is why we knew this is why he ran. So for anybody to say, oh, he didn't run for this and this, no, he ran to help people and he stands up. No, he told you this is why he was running. This is why he announced what he did. He told us in 2022, and guess what? He's doing it now. He's doing it now. This has been the longest 3 days. The unfolding of just this Matt Gaetz stuff. This 3 days has felt like a year already. Because this reminds us of all the chaos that he caused in that first administration. Every day it was something different this man did that was making headlines and making news. He is a fame whore. He is obsessed with having his name in the news, that he does something catastrophic, chaotic every day just so it makes the press, and doesn't care if he blows up the country to do it. And all these nominees are, Tulsi Gabbard has never worked in security before. She's going to head the top security aid, and she's a Russian asset. Russia referred to her as their girlfriend in the United States.
So Fitness IQ is going with emojis. Dr. Tajigo, is this a Miss Carol read out on Romper Room that she needs to see in the magic mirror?
Right.
Rubbish. And she
I
also,
see Tulsi and Nat.
So Fitness IQ Camp says, so are the criminals able to work anywhere now? Actually, before you answer that, it was very interesting. Someone said that, interesting, if you're a convicted felon, there's so many things you can't do, but a convicted felon can be president.
Yep.
Yeah.
A convicted felon, there's so many things that that person can't do in the United States, but you can run for president.
He can't even pass an FBI check, but he will be president. And guess what? He is putting in a rule. I guess he's going to do an executive order or what, but they're going to allow for certain cabinet members to not have to go through the FBI check, which means that we have people in our government who are vulnerable to corruption, to being bought by foreign entities like Iran, like Russia, like China. And just tell all our secrets. Tulsi Gabbard, for one, you put her in charge of national security, which means CIA and all that stuff that deals with our security. Guess what? She's gonna be selling. Russia is loving this because she's gonna be selling all our secrets. And if I was anyone, Canada, any of our other allies, don't tell us any secrets. If you want to keep your country safe, don't share your secrets. Share redacted documents only.
Lala, your face doesn't say 1 million, it says 10 million words.
I don't have the words.
Or you may have the words, you just don't want to say them here.
No, I'm really quite depressed. I'm literally sitting here on the edge of crying. This is our country. I am proud to be an American citizen, but I am not proud of our country. I'm really reeling from this. I don't even know what to tell you right now. The more and more we talk about this, the more and more darkness settles over me. I told you that I was grappling with this last week. I'm still grappling with this. And the more and more that he comes out with these people, these disgusting people that are supposed to be running our country, the more and more I'm thinking, you know what? What's it going to take? Do we all just need to go underground? Because he's going to give power to the police to arrest and kill anybody that they want to. Who do you think that is going to affect? And while they're up there getting the monies in their pockets and lining their pockets, we are the ones who are going to suffer. And immediately I think of my loved ones. I think of my mother-in-law who is retired. She's 88. She fought the good fight. She was in civil rights. She was doing everything that she needed to do. And now I'm worried about her. How is this going to affect our elderly who don't have the energy, and nor should they have to pick up the banner again to fight this stuff? When I am telling you that I am on the verge of tears, I am doing everything that I can not to cry on this show.
Yeah.
All right. So let's transition. And I think it's a good segue.
Before we talk about this part, before we talk about what people need to do, I think we should talk about some of the things that are going to happen.
Well, I think that's so. Let's talk about it. So look at the stuff about the Department of Education I'm hearing.
Well,
We talked about it yesterday on the morning, but there was a term. It's like,
I got a bunch of things here that he's going to do.
okay, go ahead.
And the Department of Education was the first one I was going to start with. But Lala mentioned her mother-in-law. I want to say this. One of the plans that they have published or talked about has to do with Social Security. So one of the things that Republicans have been trying to do is privatize Social Security. One of the problems with privatizing Social Security is that it's not guaranteed. But then the other question of it is, make no mistake, one of the main reasons to privatize it is because they're thinking about taking your Social Security, the money that you earn, putting it on the stock market so that they
privatize, monetize for their pockets.
For their pockets. So you won't get the monies earned in Social Security, the returns from investing. If the investment goes high, you get the return. No, you don't get the return on it. You get what your basic would be. Somebody else would collect that. That's the first thing. But the other thing the funny thing that they want to do with Social Security is that if you say are one of the few Americans left that gets a pension, like say a teacher, for example, teachers get their pension, but they also get a reduced amount of Social Security. So they live off the pension plus the Social Security, and that's how they're able to make it. Well, what they say that they're going to do is make it so that if you get a pension from a former employer, you cannot collect any of your Social Security. Any of it, even though you paid into it. None of it. So then how are these seniors
even though you paid into it?
Right.
Exclamation,
so how are these seniors,
exclamation.
Exactly. So how are these seniors supposed to make ends meet in retirement? They're going to have to go back to work. And so what happens when these seniors go back to work? They're going to go into work at places where they make substantially less money, minimum wage, long hours, for no benefits, but being retired and being on Medicare and having to work to make the ends meet, they will lose part of their pension because they're going to have to work more. And they will, because it's the hours, not the amount of money so much. So if you go back and you're retired and you're working 37 hours to make a little bit of money, minimum wage, to fill that gap, you're full time, and your pension person's like, well, you're not necessarily retired, so you only get a portion of it until you retire full time. And then that number of hours and all that and the monies will determine whether or not you can get all your Medicare benefits, or what portion of your benefits Medicare will pay for. So they're screwing with the lives of our seniors. That's the first thing. Department of Education, you brought up something that I thought about this. It's going to affect K through 12, but it's also going to affect higher ed, right? Higher ed Pell Grants, HBCUs are going to suffer. They're going to get rid of those Pell Grants. They're also going to get rid of some of the land grants that the land grant institutions that our HBCUs depend on. So you're talking like places like North Carolina State, those kinds of places. Department of Ed getting rid of that will also get rid of Title IX, which means sports for girls, K through 12, higher ed. Guess what? That's the only reason that if a school has a men's track team, they are required by law to have a women's track team. Okay, you can't just discriminate that way. And so if they get rid of the Department of Education, they will get rid of Title IX. Then there's also Title I in that Department of Education, which are schools in high poverty areas. They get certain things, and guess what that's also tied to? It's also tied to the USDA, which affects the school lunch and school breakfast programs that they're also wanting to get rid of, because that's in Project 2025. But beyond the Title I, there's also bilingual education falls under the Department of Education, right? There's laws that the Department of Education makes sure that districts uphold in providing bilingual education. Well, this will not just affect Spanish-speaking kids like most people think. There are a host of children from other places that get bilingual education. You know what else is also considered bilingual education, people? Braille and sign language. Those things also will go. And don't forget special education. We're not talking about children that just have physical and biological needs, special needs. We're talking about kids who have autism and are on the spectrum. We're talking about kids who are hard of hearing, kids who have divergent learning, kids who have ADHD, kids who have a seizure disorder and may be sick, kids who have sickle cell. This also includes kids who might just have some kind of mental health disorder, right? Like chronic anxiety or something. But any child who gets special needs of any kind, that is going to be impacted. You know what else they also consider special education, though we don't talk about it that way? Talented and programs in some districts, in some places, consider that a special education set. So these things are all going to be impacted. We talked about the healthcare. RFK Jr. wants raw milk. He wants to get rid of the fluoride in your water. Fluoride in water has improved American dental health so much over the last 60 years. It's not even funny. Okay. And then on top of that, not just the vaccinations, there's a reason why children don't get chicken pox anymore. We're Gen X. We're like the last generation to get chicken pox, right? Because now you have vaccines. He doesn't like vaccines. He said it, and now he's saying something different, but don't believe it. He also wants to make sure that psychedelic drugs there are no regulations or controls on psychedelic drugs. And one of the psychedelic drugs that they mentioned was cocaine. So this is the kind of crazy that we're talking about in these policies. And that's just some of them. Oh, and let me not forget this last one. Reparations for white people in education.
That's what I was
going
to reparations. Yes, reparations.
Reparations for any white person who feels discriminated against due to race at school. So guess who's coming? Guess who they're coming for first? Remember what they did with the Freedom Fund that allowed for funds to help a special fund to help Black women start business, Black women entrepreneurs. Well, what schools do you think they're going to come for first with that racism and discrimination and admissions and stuff? They're going to start with HBCUs. They're going to start with HBCUs. That is the first thing they're going to start with. So they need to be on alert. But then the other thing is that he's going to allow for people to sue school districts, sue school superintendents, sue teachers, sue state departments of education if they feel that there's any kind of racism against whites or they feel any kind of discrimination, which we as people who get killed for blanking whatever while Black know that this can be anything. A child can say, you know what? This book was about candy, and I feel discriminated against because I am allergic to candy. This candy's chocolate. It's a brown chocolate. This is racist. Why is there not a white chocolate candy bar in this picture, in this math problem? And their parents can sue. The shenanigans.
It
sounds ridiculous, but it's going to happen. Mark our words.
I just want to say a few comments. Shirley says, "Stay strong, Lala."
I'm trying, Shirley.
And then IQ says, "Yikes!" And she goes, "I hope it doesn't happen here in Canada." And she says, "Everyone will be selling front soon." And she goes, "Say what?" Like I said, when I heard the reparations for white people, I just went, "Wow!" And that this and like anti-American, I'm going, "Wow."
Yeah, so all you people who are sitting here debating about whether Kamala was Black or not, talking about you want reparations for Black people, by undermining that, you got reparations, but you got them for white people.
And again, another thing that hasn't really been mentioned is abortion.
They already
No,
made.
there's nothing to discuss. He got the White House, got the House of Representatives, and the Senate.
And people don't realize that. That's
It's
what
a
he
complete
wanted.
ban.
He
It's a
wants-
complete ban.
He got his totalitarianism.
And he has his court.
Yeah,
And he has his
he's got-
court.
he's got
Because
everything.
two people are gonna step down.
Yep.
Two people are gonna sit down.
Can't have it
And
any
he's
better.
got he's got his court. So he's gonna have a 5-4 court.
Yep.
Actually, yeah, 5. No. It's gonna be a 6-3 court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what do people need to protect themselves as the new administration moves in?
First thing, your ID. Make sure you get the real ID, because that's going to be very important. You need to get a real ID, and you need to get a passport for you and for your children. And the reason I say this is because they're about to, because some places already see a passport as a higher level ID than a driver's license or a real ID. They're going to use that and make that a default ID to prove your citizenship in this country. That is where we're going to. Okay. And so if you cannot get a passport, that's how they're going to weed out who to deport and who not to deport. Be wary of your ID, because they are not in a rush to build all these private prisons, particularly along the South and in those southern border states, before the end of December. Alabama just did two and the governor used COVID funds to do it. Okay. So they're not going to use that. When they say deport, they're not deporting everyone right away. They're going to fill those prisons, because guess what? All those for-profit prisons don't make money if people aren't in them. And guess who owns all those for-profit prisons? People who donated to Trump's campaign. Trump's friends, rich friends, they own all that stuff. So be very careful with your ID. Second thing, healthcare. Before January 21st, schedule every exam you possibly can, get every vaccine you possibly can, pre-screening, dental screening, eye screening, everything that you can cram in that period of time, get it done.
Now,
if not in that period of time, the latest, I would say by the end of February, get stuff done, because once RFK Jr. gets in there, things are going to be gone. Things are going to be gone. The other thing, if you owe taxes, I very clearly want to make this point. The Trump tax cuts end in January. The thing that they're going to do is they're going to recertify them and make them continue for another 8 years. The government is going to have another $1 trillion deficit, and they're going to need to find that money from someplace. And the first place they're going to go to are the people who owe tax dollars. And if they can't, and guess what?
I gotta laugh here. This is a master plan.
Yeah, guess what? And if you can't pay them, don't worry. They'll find another way to get the money for the labor, or somebody's going to make some money, because guess what? They will arrest you. And what prison do you think they're going to send y'all to? The ones that their friends own. The for-profit prisons. And there are plenty of people who have gone to jail because they owe taxes. Ask Ron Isley and Lauryn Hill.
Master stroke. 45, 47. Master stroke. And how about the tariffs?
Oh,
don't you know? You're not the one paying those. Remember? Why are you worried about tariffs?
No, see, here's the find out part. Okay? Because people are learning. People are reporting. These are Trump supporters reporting that their bosses are calling them into mass meetings and sending emails around saying that their Christmas bonuses aren't coming this year. And they're finding out it's because the companies they work for are stockpiling supplies before January 21st, and the tariffs go into effect. And so people aren't getting their little Christmas bonuses that they thought they were going to buy their kids Christmas presents with and all that stuff. And because of
Master
this,
stroke. Master
so
stroke.
but guess what? Your eggs are going to be cheaper. And you know why your eggs are going to be cheaper? Because RFK is going to make sure all the regulations that keep your eggs safe are going to be cheaper. So enjoy your salmonella.
Master stroke. Master. As a
But
song,
here's the part. Here's this thing.
Lala, you're allowed to leave if you want.
Me and Lala. Here's the thing. Me and Lala, we said this on this show. We told everybody this. And what I noticed in our comments, all those people that had so much to say when we were talking about Project 2025 and didn't believe us aren't here. They're not here. Some of them are probably bots, but you know.
So it doesn't. Look at this. Fitness IQ Cam says, "You ladies never disappoint. Never have, never will. Never have, never will." So then, what do I'm gonna even get drilled down a little bit more? What do Black people need to do to protect themselves as the new administration moves in?
Everything I said. Make sure you get hard copies of things.
Yes.
Because guess who controls the satellites? Guess who controls the satellites that send the waves that your Wi-Fi, your cloud, and all that stuff bounces off of? He's got $3 billion in government contracts to do that stuff. Oh, and guess what? He's also going to be running the new government agency called
Doge.
Run by two douches.
Department of Government Efficiency.
But here's the thing. This is where you're going to see the first argument in Trump's administration, and you're going to see the first cracks. Government efficiency, basically, they're talking about cutting $98 trillion or $9 trillion in spending, and cutting 98 different government agencies, right? The budgets of those agencies. Here's where you're going to have your first cracks. Elon and Vivek think that they're going to be able to do this. Well, there's only one government entity that holds the purse strings, and it's written in the Constitution, and that's Congress. That Congress is not going to like Elon Musk telling them what they can and can't do.
Yeah, but are they going to push back against 45?
No.
47.
No. They're not going to push back against 45. They're going to push
47.
back. They're going to push back. Well, 47. They're going to push back against Elon Musk. And here's the thing that they're going to be able to get above Elon Musk to say. They'll be like, we've been working in this government this way. We know this. We know how to help you get what you want because we write the law and we know the language. And that's the one thing that Trump does know that Elon doesn't know. He knows Elon does not know how to write a bill, how to write policy. He'll trust that the Congress will do that.
Comments here. Fitness IQ Cam goes, Lala, hugs. Dr. Tachi says, this is something else. And she goes, how stupid is that? They named it after his crypto coin? Court jesters.
Yeah. And the other thing, I think one thing we should talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about in the aftermath, talking about the election, was something that I thought I forgot to mention because someone did mention it. And Lala, this is something that might give you a little bit of glimpse of hope, that the FBI raided what betting service was that was betting on the election?
Oh, I don't know because I told you I checked out. I didn't know that happened. Are you serious?
Created a betting service that was betting on the election. They literally bet money, and people, and they were releasing
service. Yes,
they were releasing polls saying that Trump was going to win, and it was based on getting more people to bet. And guess what? Those people only would get
Oh.
their money and would win if Trump won.
Okay, Poly Market.
Yes, Poly Market. The owner of the creator of Poly Market has had the FBI raid all of his stuff and take his phone, take his computer, everything. So that's going to be something to look at.
Yeah, I'm just going to put this story up really quickly on the screen. I just saw it, just pulled it up, and I'll read quickly from it. Let me just pull it up here. Chrome tab. Yeah, here's the story here. FBI raids home and seizes phone of Polymarket founder Shane Copland, calls incident, quote, discouraging, unquote, as firm suggests raid was retribution for site's users betting on 45. The FBI raided the home of the chief executive of the predictive betting site Polymarket and seized his phone late on Wednesday. Shane Copland, the 26-year-old CEO of the company, woke early on Wednesday morning in Manhattan to federal agents in his home, the New York Post first reported. Copland himself was not arrested, the company said. On X, formerly Twitter, Copland wrote on Wednesday evening, quote, new phone, who dis, unquote. Polymarket claimed the raid was in retaliation for its users betting overwhelmingly that 45-47 would win the election. The site displayed a large chance of 45-47 winning the election, giving Kamala Harris a minimal one, out of line with most mainstream polls. Quote, it's discouraging that the current administration would seek a last-ditch effort to go after companies that deem to be associated with political opponents, unquote, Copland wrote. Quote, we are deeply committed to being a nonpartisan, and today is no different, but the incumbents should do some self-reflecting and recognize that taking a more pro-business, pro-startup approach may be what would have changed the fate of this election. So, and just to finish here, the Department of Justice is investigating Polymarket for allegedly allowing U.S.-based users to bet on the site, Bloomberg News reported this past Wednesday evening. Polymarket users can place bets on the outcome of yes or no questions, the wide range in subject. Fortune reported the week before the election that the site was wash trading, an illegal type of market manipulation. So I'll leave it at that. But
okay, nonpartisan. Let me tell you how nonpartisan they are. Because
Robinhood was involved too, and Robinhood was doing this too.
Yep, I left X, but I'm telling you how nonpartisan Polymarket was. Polymarket was so nonpartisan that leading up the last couple of weeks, Elon Musk had changed the algorithm so that the only ads you were seeing on your X account were ads that were pro-Trump, for pro-Trump publications, for pro-Trump merchandise. Guess what some of those ads were? For Polymarket. Okay? Polymarket. And I'm going to tell you something else I noticed. The day after the election, all the ads that had negative articles and stuff about Kamala switched to selling merchandise that for Trump's inauguration and we won stuff. And the only other ads there were Polymarket. And then the day after that, they went to showing advertisements for games you can play on your phone, which tells me something. That tells me that misinformation and disinformation was how they influenced the election on X, because there was no reason to switch from that stuff that quickly. But Polymarket was was the only other thing aside from a news site that was being marketed by Elon Musk. And not only was it being marketed, at one point for a couple of days, they had it as the banner for everybody. You couldn't get it would be the top, it would be the banner across the top, and then all the other things that came underneath that, like before you scroll. And so you couldn't get rid of it, because I was like, is there something for me to click and get? No, you couldn't get rid of it. And people were commenting that it was the banner across. So yeah, so much for your nonpartisanship. You were very nonpartisan when it came to Republicans.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. And a lot of people, it really tells you something, is that I guarantee you all the people, because they predicted that Trump would win, I guarantee you that all the people who placed bets with them were Trump supporters.
Of course.
Fit and
made sure they showed up because they wanted their money.
So Fitness IQ Camp says, "Oh wow, I thought it was Robin Hood." Well, I know Robin Hood was also involved in, so it's interesting that only one.
A Polymarket, the guy was rated. And
Mm,
also, don't forget, Elon Musk was doing random giveaways of $1 million a day.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which there was a lot of controversy around that too. Not
And
not just that
a
was
lot of
illegal.
controversy
Yes.
and no follow through on Merrick Garland's part. Oh,
Okay.
and Jack Smith is wrapping up his stuff voluntarily because at this point,
No use.
I don't blame him for
Yeah.
not wanting to be fired. He's like, yeah, forget it. I'm out of here.
So
and
then-
Merrick Garland, oh my God. If there was any failure of an AG in the last 30 years, it would be Merrick Garland.
Oh, Jill Jones's favorite political person of all time.
That man just sat for 8 years and collected a check.
So what are each of you doing to protect yourselves as the new administration moves in?
Well, first of all, my documentation for myself and my husband is completely solid. We have that. We have our hard copies. We making sure of that. We're also making sure that mom is in order, and anyone in our inner circle that we are assisting them in doing the same. We are also making sure that we are collecting the right kind of history books for my nieces and my nephews. They will be taught at home the things that they will no longer be taught in their schools. We are having drives where we could get together. We're actually doing this in Kentucky, where families can get together, where our children can come together and play where they feel like they are safe. Unfortunately, we have to also teach them how to equip themselves when the not so nice world comes knocking on their door. There have been cases already where children have been attacked verbally by the sheer words that we grew up with that were no longer kosher to say. Now they're right back out there in the open. We're talking about babies that are 3, 4, 5, 6 playing on the playground. So what we're doing is, after we've gotten up and brushed our knees off, we are starting with our inner circle and making sure that they are protected and in line. As for what comes next, I do not know. That is going to have to be developed as we go along, because we don't really know. We're starting from scratch in this. I'm not opposed to also teaching our older kids, after they each reach a certain age, their gun rights as well, because we do have those rights just as much as anybody else. And to give it to
Well,
At least for now.
they're written now, but if
They're not going to get rid of the gun laws. The thing they might get rid of is who can get a gun. They might actually finally do that part, but they're not going to get rid of the Second Amendment ever.
No.
That's
that would be the downfall of them to do that. But that doesn't mean, listen, there's going to be loopholes. They're going to do everything that they said that they're going to do, but there's also going to be loopholes. What I want you to understand is the same thing that they are giving the benefits to these white rich folk. There are loopholes for you to do. I want you to pay attention. If you don't hear anything else from me tonight, I want you to pay attention to what I'm saying right now. You need to start watching where these people are investing their money. When I say these people, I mean the congressmen, the senators, both sides, not just the Republicans. Where are they investing their money? Where are they putting their wealth? Because they can't stop you from doing the same. You need to follow the path of their money so that you can protect your households financially. And that is the best advice that I can give you right now. Don't sit back and lament. Don't sit back and say, oh my God, woe's me. Start really paying attention to where their money goes and their money flows, and you do the same.
And if you don't have the money to do it, again, watch what they do, like Lala said, because like she said, there are loopholes. They always find them. You need to follow their lead on that. There are loopholes. That's why Trump is able to not pay any taxes. He gets
Well,
it.
look how much the stock market went up
Went up where?
when he got post
Of
election.
course.
Of course.
But guess what? It has been going down though. There's been a downturn since he's been announcing his cabinet picks.
I just did a whole video on this on how elections affect real estate, and I'm shameless pitch. If you want to go watch that, that's on my YouTube channel.
That should be here. That should be a break.
Yeah, well, you can have it. You can anything on my page. You're more than welcome to. You know that. Okay. But historically, you are going to see a quick shift after things happen like this, but quickly it goes back to normal. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see that that's not going to change historically. Of course, the next day everything looked like, oh, look, he's in charge and we're so happy. And then you'll see over the time things will start going down and down and down to back to normal. And actually it returns to normal fairly quickly.
Yeah. And let's be clear, the market would have gone up regardless of who won. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. It wouldn't have been the win. It would have been the reaction of the citizens afterwards. People didn't stop buying things, first of all, but there was no violence that night. If Kamala had won and there had been violence on the right, yeah. But otherwise, if there had been no violence that night, it wouldn't have changed. It would have gone up. It would have gone up regardless. Because why would it have gone up if it was a Democrat? Well, guess what? That means that people's salaries could potentially go up. There are a lot of things that would just cause it to go up. But the reason that it came crashing down was the nominees. When he announced Elon Musk and all these people, it would go down. It just went right down. The other thing that caused it to go up is, remember, rich people made $64 billion the night he won and the day after, that 24-hour period. They're making that amount of money and other people's stocks and stuff going up. There's a differential there. And that gap right there makes it look like the whole market went up. It was just the one for those very rich people.
You got to be very, very careful. And I don't, this is not the first time we've said this on this channel. You have to be very, very careful what is being reported to you, because numbers and facts are definitely being skewed. You have to learn to look for the seed of truth within the marshmallow fluff. You understand? You got to look for that hard piece in that fluffy popcorn, because there's always a seed of truth in there, but it's so much fluff around it that people don't want to do the work to find the root. You need to now learn to find the root.
Right. Because what they'll say is that, well, the stock market went up. So say you have a 401k, right? And okay, everything went up. Yeah. Well, Elon Musk made $24 billion. You made 50 cents. But they will say the stock market went up. Everybody made money. You made 50 cents. He made $24 billion. And so there's no differential about it. That's the justification also too behind trickle down economics.
Yeah.
If one person, if the top part, if they raise up and they make more money, then that's going to flow down to everybody else.
Baby, it ain't trickling to you. It ain't trickling to you.
I'm in the middle, but that's Reaganomics gone wrong,
mm-hmm.
right? And we've got our new hashtag find the root.
Mm-hmm.
That's a t-shirt, LaLa.
It sure is.
It's a t-shirt. All right, we got here.
Final topic. Oh, I was going to say final topic. All right.
No, it's coming. Fitness IQ says, ouch. And Shirley says, you're doing good. Well, I'm glad you're doing good and you're here. And Aisha says, Fitness IQ says, Aisha, why you have to kick me down at my 50 cents?
I'm not kicking down your 50 cents. I'm saying Elon Musk made $24 billion and you only made 50 cents. There's nothing right about that.
Oh my goodness. All right. Last conversation topic of the night is this one. The great migration of Black folks from X to Blue Sky. Now, let's have an education. Most people know X/Twitter. Before we get deep in this, what is Blue Sky?
Blue Sky is a social media platform that looks just like X. Why? Because the founder of Twitter created it. And I gotta tell you, I've been on it. It has been a I haven't had any drama. It's been a peaceful social media space. People, there are no bots. You interact with people, and people are realizing they don't want all the brands and the big celebrities who are going to suck up all the energy out of it. They're talking about people are talking to each other and respecting each other. There's and it's all about the quality of your followers versus the quantity of your followers. Like, I got LeVar Burton to follow me, and he's just been posting things about reading, getting library cards, buying books and things. And it's great to watch that kind of stuff, right? Those posts don't, like, on Twitter, your things get flooded so much. You get to select your algorithm. You get to set your algorithm in this space, as opposed to the algorithm being set by Elon Musk and it being what he wants you to see, right? There's a discovery one where I can look at just random things that are coming through based on my likes, people I don't necessarily follow. But the algorithm has figured out what I'm interested in and shows me people with same interests and keywords. If I don't want to see name people, I go to Black Sky and just look at the posts from people who are
Yes, that's
who are
been so
part of Black Sky.
refreshing.
And I love it. I love it. I go to Book Sky. I have there's a Prince Forever Sky. If I don't want to look at, if there might be a racist Prince fan that will pop up, I go back to Black Sky, and then I got Black Writer Sky and, those things. And it is just so refreshing. You feel like you're in community with people. And there's gatekeeping. That's the thing I like the most. There's gatekeeping. There's this one person who asked the community of Black Sky, can his white friend join Black Sky because he's married to a Black woman, and Black Sky was like, nope, nope, nope. Not everybody can come to the picnic. Nope, not at all. So it's a refreshing thing, and people, I think, are being real respectful, and X is not happy about it, no matter what they say, because all the people on there, particularly the white people, the racist people, those heavy MAGA folks, they like arguing with people, and if the people who they like arguing with are leaving, they're going to eventually make the jump to Blue Sky, but Blue Sky has been very
Well, that's the same thing when people left to Truth Social. You don't have nobody to argue with.
right. And but Blue Sky is good in that Black Sky, what they've done is they've developed lists of people with certain keywords and certain personalities, and like MAGA people, if you click on subscribe to the list, you can block all those people that they have on that list, and they keep updating it. And then there's the Nazi one that you can block all those people. It's like, so they can't follow you, all that stuff. I love it. I love it so much.
I deactivated and deleted my X account.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, there is a way to do that. I definitely want to say, because they have the new thing right now where with the new terms, and they're going to be able to train their AI bot on your tweets. So there's a way to do it. I want you to be very careful. And the first thing you need to do is download all your tweets. You can do that. And then delete all of the tweets on the account. And you can delete your account or deactivate your account, but I would definitely, if you're concerned and have business or a content creator or whatever, I would definitely delete all the posts, don't post anymore, but keep the profile, because once you delete it completely, after 30 days, that one will become available and someone can go and use it. And so, for example, if people know who you are and then they happen to see that, they might not know that you deactivated or you're deleted the account, and they'll assume that those posts are you. So I don't want anyone to have to be taken advantage of that way, knowing how Twitter does with the bots. And I wouldn't put anything past Elon to look at the people who have
This is, you know, that you're reading my
but
lips line
the
because
people who have the
45
people
is
who
gonna
have deleted,
blue
using
sky
them
on.
as bots, and for the next election, you will see people put forth things using the one that used to be yours and assume it was you. And don't forget, because the other part too is that if you get rid of, they can find pictures and stuff like that. So just be very careful.
I've never been that important on that platform. So
No. It doesn't matter. I just think that they're going to take a whole bunch of the ones that they have that are totally deleted and sell them to Russia, so Russia can use Russian bots.
Well, I'm sure Elon will push his buddy 45, 47, say, we got to shut this down and do something.
Not only that, remember, Elon's been having private conversations with Putin.
There you go. LaLa, you're a social media maven. Anything you have you? So are you on Blue Sky?
yes, I am. But I actually used Living the LaLa Life on that account.
Okay.
I'm planning on doing a lot of other things there musically. So
Okay.
I think I'm going to use that as my platform to reach out into the other things that I'm expanding into.
Yeah. The music one's going to be nice because, also too, one of the things that you can also do up there is kind of shift your followers to the kind of audience that you want and the people you want to interact with, but also the age group, right? Okay. I have been able to follow a lot of people in our age group, and the music threads, the music posts that are coming up are really, really good. We had a whole conversation about Shantae Moore yesterday.
Oh, Shantae
shared a video of her live.
Don't start that. So, quick story. Many years ago, I had the pleasure of seeing her open up for Barry White.
Mm.
Wow.
And Shantae Moore, I had a chance to meet her after the concert, and I told her, this was the first thing I said to her. I said, Ms. Moore, you look better in real life than you do in video. And I said, I was done. I was done. Like, I mean, she presents herself so classy. So I'm a big fan of Shantae Moore, but I'll never forget that concert. Shantae Moore opening up for Barry White, and Barry White played with a full orchestra.
I always
wow.
So definitely. So I will hopefully by next week I will have a Blue Sky account and get on there because I've seen that it's worth a while.
Yeah, I shared our show tonight on Blue Sky.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right.
So you got to get the account. I was only able to tag LaLa, but
okay. I'll get an account.
Yeah, it was
on there. I'll be on there by next week.
But I've loved it because guess what? People have decided that they're tired of politics, but they want to know what's going on. So, I told everybody, I'll watch the news so you don't have to. And I'll tell you the important stuff, and I won't tell you the BS. And I'm not going to sugarcoat things, and I'm not going to, this. And people are like, thank you so much for that. I want to stay informed, but I want to know what to listen to, what's noise and what's not. And I love that. But also, too, I laughed so much last night just scrolling through Blue Sky. I haven't done that with Twitter in a long time.
Yeah, because it's so toxic.
At all. It's so toxic. Somebody said people are just posting friendly conversations and sharing different videos and comedy things and things that were so funny. I mean, I literally sat with Black Sky last night and scrolled watching what people were posting about the fight. I didn't watch the fight, but I watched what people were posting, and I felt like I watched it because people were giving a blow by blow, and the commentary was just so funny. And just, I mean, I was like, wow, I haven't seen that in a long time. I haven't seen that on Twitter since Jack was there, right?
Right.
And Jack's at Black Sky now. So I see it. I mean, I'm Blue Sky, but I see it on the Black Sky thread, and it's just like,
All right. We'll end it there. So we'll speak it that by next week, all three of us will be on Blue Sky. And hey, maybe there's a way I can find it if we can possibly broadcast it on Blue Sky. I'll do some.
If not now, I'm sure it'll come soon.
right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, ladies, thank you for taking the most important thing, your time with us, especially after a challenging last few weeks. But appreciate you all being here. So before we shut it down, first things first, contact information for the LaLa Life.
I make it real easy for you. I've got a really easy one. Just go to bit.ly/Laura Key Info. It has all of my profiles there, all of links to my social media. But I also have a store that's open now. So if you want to be a part of the protest and tell people you tired, let somebody else do it. I have t-shirts and mugs that are your protest. And that's at Roots and Richness.
All right, good stuff. And we got to get some of your promo spots on the platform.
Yes.
All right, good stuff. Next up, Aisha K.
Hi. Oh, you can get rid of the Twitter because you're not going to find me.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to be doing that right after this conference. Yeah, that's going to
You
be
cannot find me there. Instagram, you can still find me at AK Staggers. You know, send me a funny video from time to time because I love to laugh at them. I had such a good time last night, and after this, I'm going to go sit and watch some silly ones tonight. But you can find me on Blue Sky at akstaggers.bsky.social.
You got to send me that information, and also you got to send me your Medium link too, so we get it complete. All right.
Oh yes, I will.
All
you
right.
can also find me at Medium at Aisha Staggers. So don't just look for my name, Aisha Staggers, and you'll be able to find my Medium page. And I'm writing like an article, every other day.
Wonderful. All right, family, that is it. We are done. Another epic conversation. And, I just enjoyed it. As always, you can watch replays of Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Also, you can watch replays on my website, thedrvibeshow.com, which is THEDRVIBE.com. And you know what? I forgot to put how you can contact me, but if you're watching, I can actually say it off the top of my alleged mind. So website, thedrvibeshow.com, the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, Instagram at the DRVIBESHOW. Only for a little short more time, X/Twitter, because after tonight, I ain't going to have a Twitter account. I'm going to have a Blue Sky account. And it's at DRVIBESHOW. And that's it. I don't think there's, and LinkedIn, actually, I said it already. Okay, I got everything done. Okay, good stuff. All right. Jen Myers says, fabulous as always. Well, you are too, Jen Myers. Thank you for, and putting some stuff on the Discord channel. I got to be putting some stuff there too. So I've got to get better at it. So you're stretching me, Jen. You're stretching me. And remember the new hashtag, find the root. And another one, actually, Roland Martin, African-American commentator, was very upset about this election. And what he's got his new hashtag, when people start complaining about 45, 47, just give them the hashtag, we told you so. So that's it. That's all. As always, thank you so much. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And you know what? Oh, sorry. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. I know I butchered it up, but I think I got everything in there. God bless. Peace to you all. Keep the faith and wild good. We'll see you next week. And follow us and tell people about the program. Get our subscriptions up all over the place. Be well.